But on that question, I think the issue raised by the person on oil prices and how we are affected and what we could possibly do to face this challenge. Well, it's a good idea. Ideally, that is something we need to look at. My other problem is, well, there are many things really that Africa could be resolving by coming together on some of the issues and designing some kind of idea and infrastructure to serve us well, especially for some of these things that keep recurring. It's a good idea. I want to take it on board and think of the best way to approach it. But the people who have oil in Africa or meet with others outside of Africa, and they have some groupings of how they deal with such issues, and they look at the problem sometimes more at the global level and scale than singling out some of these regions, which I don't find anything wrong with, and which would serve us well. So I hope it's an idea we can continue developing and more so find ways in which it can be applied and look at all the possibilities or challenges and see whether we can achieve that. So I think we will be giving a reply to this question in a much broader sense, but that's what it is now. On the issue of the media, I think I would prefer the minister to, Muson, you can take on that one.
Thank you, Excellency. Yesterday, Cabinet made a decision to move from dual regulation, where the media and the government were meeting in a board of Media High Circle, to self-regulation, media self-regulation. Definitely, it puts some work on the industry. The industry must be organized so that they can discharge that duty given to it. It doesn't happen right away because we still have a legal framework establishing the Media High Council and its responsibilities. So we are soon going into discussions on how it's going to be done and do it quickly. Your Excellency, there is already a committee. I can see some members like Marcel here who are looking at it so that we can quickly move from that dual state of regulation to self-regulation by the media industry.
But is the question more also to do with why do you need to do it this way at all? I think this is what the question was, isn't it?
Absolutely. I thought if it's self-regulation, leave it then to I mean, the logic would be that they would come up and at a certain point say, okay, now can we have this?
Even the media is saying, why does it have even to come from government? I think to tell the media to regulate themselves. Why don't you wait until the media asks for it? I think, is this what I'm, yes.
Your Excellency, you're correct on that one. And Albert knows that for the last year or so, that has been the demand from the media industry in Rwanda. We had a media dialogue meeting in November last year.
Or at least it has been the idea of part of the practitioners in the media.
Yes.
Maybe they hadn't agreed on it. I can see he has a side he belongs to. I mean, he has a viewpoint which nation should have.
Yes.
I'm the first advocate for self-regulation. But it has to come from us.
Yes. So he's saying, I think his question is, why don't you first leave us to sort ourselves out on this issue? Before you jumped in and say, you know what, I'm surrendering or I'm just telling you to do this. I think that is his question.
Got it.
Yeah.
They demanded, and since the government had put in a legal framework, we are now giving a strategic direction that we are ready to move towards media self-regulation.
So that's it.
Heather?
Thank you. Heather from Bloomberg News. I wanted to ask about the Ingabire case.
About what?
The Ingabire case? Ingabire? The prosecutor in the case has said they are ready to proceed.
That's a Bloomberg question.
Pardon?
That's a Bloomberg question.
Yes.
It's a Bloomberg question. Okay, go ahead.
It is indeed a question from me, and I'm representing Bloomberg.
Come from somebody else.
I'm just wanting to understand the inconsistency. The prosecutor says they're ready to proceed, and as far as I know, the Ministry of Justice says the investigation is still going on. So I'm wondering if you could explain the inconsistency there and tell us when it is expected to begin.
Well, fortunately, you have a Minister of Justice here. They can explain their own inconsistency. They don't have to can speak for themselves.
Thank you, Excellency. I am not sure if they are quoting the Ministry of Justice. I suspect that she cannot be quoting me as saying that the trial is either way or the other. The position on Ingabire is that the prosecution has been ready to proceed, and that on the contrary, has been Ingabire that has been delaying her own trial, requesting for adjournments. The prosecution is ready to proceed, and the court is ready to proceed. Last time the case was in court, she seemed not to be ready to proceed. That is the position today. So I don't know whether she's quoting anything that anybody else could have said differently.
It's a position and it's a fact.
It's a fact, Your Excellencies.
Well,
Berkar.
Thank you. Nitwa Berkar Nzabagerageza, ndi umunyamakuru wa Radio Salus. Mu mujyi wa Kigali kimwe n'ahandi mu gihugu hari ibikorwa by'ingirakamaro byo gusanura no kubaka imihanda. Ariko hari igihe ureba nyuma y'igihe gito bayikoze ukabona bari kongera gusubiramo bapasura hamwe na hamwe. Ese njya kwa Perezida wa Repubulika icyo kintu cyaba giterwa n'iki? Murakoze.
ariko mwajya mumfasha iki kibazo nkibajijwe inshuro 3. Ubu no kwisubiramo please, you must ukwiye kuba warabikurikiranye naragisobanuye, and reka tuzasubira inyuma turaza gusanga aho igisubizo kiri ndakurangira aho wagisanga.
Can we have Steve, Your Excellency, just to remind you to please use the microphone.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep reminding me.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Steve Terrell with AFP. Regarding Alain Juppé, this man was implicated by the Muccio report and other sources of having some involvement with the genocide in 1994, and he's been reappointed in the French government. We've heard reports that perhaps you canceled a trip or postponed a trip to France because of this decision, and I'd just like you to confirm or tell us that, and also just what do you think about this appointment?
I answer this in a simple way that Alain Juppé and his position on or even involvement in matters relating to genocide and the history of it here in Rwanda. Are well known, and I don't think his name and attitude augur well with Rwandans when it comes to that history. And other than his negative stance on this, he has not even attempted to rectify this situation. So our view about him and his position has not changed. Certainly that he's now the Minister of Foreign Affairs of France may have certain implications on otherwise improving relationship between Rwanda and France. To what extent or specifically what implications I may not be able to discuss here today. But I think Rwandans have been insulted by his attitude and position. They are not short of ways to express themselves, Rwandans, about this. So maybe we'll be finding that out along the way. But certainly we also take into consideration the fact that there are other positive trends in France, and starting with the head of state of France, President Sarkozy's approach and the efforts he put into, helping the situation to be left behind, to be left in our past and to focus on moving forward is well known, and his position is well known and valued. So there are these things that come together that we have to separate, but at the same time, there are areas where they converge, and we shall treat it as such.